Instincts, we sometimes say, oh, that's my intuition. What actually is your intuition? It just came by itself. How does that happen? The 100 trillion cells in the bodies have eyes. And those eyes are designed to detect and respond to light, which is invisible, which means our bodies are continually responding to the formless before it is rendered into form. So it's not responding to things we see, it's responding to the energy from where the things we see comes. That is information. It's information in formation. So intuition is just a sense of knowing that comes because of the interaction of light, the intelligence of life, with the cells of our body. And even the eyes can detect a single photon of light. A photon is invisible. It has no form. It has no attributes. It's just a possibility, a potential. And yet that is what this is designed to pick up. In other words, we are designed to see the invisible. Now, what is our awakening entrepreneur about? It's about beginning to notice how things are coming to us free of charge all the time, and just allowing that to occur.
Welcome to the Awakening Entrepreneur Podcast. This show is for entrepreneurs that have chosen to define their life beyond the material. They have followed their soul on a hero's journey towards the mystery of the spiritual. I'm your host, Garrett Ng. Each episode will be learning from awakened entrepreneurs and spiritual thought leaders. They have broken through the mold of being ordinary to extraordinary, challenging our paradigm, shining light to the dark, giving hope when there is doubt. The moment of truth is upon us. It is time to transcend our world from fear to love. Are you ready? Let's go! If I can, I guess, rehash some of the points that you've talked about now and some of the points I've learned from you, is that we've been conditioned to use our brain. Like I even after reading your book, I caught myself during the week. I told my kids, hey, didn't you think before you did that? And so all of us got brought up, hey, use your brain, like you think about it. What were you thinking about? Is rehashing that we use our brain or our mind to think. And what you alluded to in the book, like Luminous Life, is that we are part of nature since we are light and nature is part of light and we're all intertwined. And so many of our behaviors like is either we don't control, like the sun goes up and down, we have no control, the tide comes in, and many other things that we don't control, as well as our unconsciousness, like a lot of our activities, our hearts beating and breathing, a lot of stuff is not controlled by us. And
Tell me anything that is.
Yeah.
Tell me anything that is controlled by us.
So seemingly, like me talking to you, what I'm about to say next is controlled by me.
No. That's a beautiful example, by the way. We do not control what comes out of our mouth. It is created all by itself and then flows by itself. I'm not aware of any thought going on whatsoever in terms of, I don't even know exactly what's being said between us. It's happening all by itself because we're resonating in the same level. Something has brought us together. Even though you're in Sydney and I'm in Maui, something brought us together. Neither one of us knew each other. Neither one of us had ever heard of each other. We had no idea what would happen. And the moment we saw each other, it was like love at first sight. All of a sudden, I look at you and I realize, wow, I'm looking in the mirror. I'm seeing a different expression of my own essence. And I don't know what came up for you, but that's what came up for me. And as we started speaking, Gary and Jacob both disappeared, and something just started breathing both of us, and something entrained both of us into a state of oneness. We disappeared, oneness took over. You said about your kids, weren't you thinking when, you should have thought about that before you did it. The reality is, the reason that that behavior came out was because they were thinking, not because they weren't thinking. Thinking is what takes us away from the natural guidance in our life. It takes us away from that. When something is known, there is nothing to think about. And when something is not known, there's no amount of thinking that will make it known. If you speak to any scientist in the world, someone I remember asked Albert Einstein, how did you discover the theory of relativity? He says, I didn't discover that. That came to me while I was playing piano. That's the way those discoveries come. And then after they come, the mind says, look at the great idea I came up with. But before we said, I want my name on it, I want ownership of it, it's my idea. Prior to that, something brought us to even look in that direction. And that's what I'm talking about. That level of guidance takes us on a life of living by heart. That's what allows us to live life without an insurance policy.
Well, Jacob, a lot of people that I've talked to that's going through this surrender type of journey, rather than trying to control life, or even if they're entertaining the idea of letting go and surrender, one of the difficult concepts for them to grasp is, if I don't control things, does that mean I just do nothing? I have no goals, I have no ambition, and nothing will happen? Who's going to go and earn the income? Who's going to make lunch for the kids? What do you have to say for that?
Well, it's just like driving the car. You have to keep your car in the middle of the lane. So the opposite of doing is non-doing. So we think of doing as moving around and non-doing as laying on the couch all day watching television. That's not what we're talking about. Every creature in the world wakes up in the morning. Every creature in the world eats when it gets hungry. Every creature in the world evacuates its bowels when it needs to evacuate its bowels. Every creature in the world, their heart speeds up when more blood needs to be pumped. Their heart slows down when less blood needs to be pumped. The blood sugar, the blood pressure, the hormones, everything occurs without them. If something enters our life that grabs our attention and it's exciting, there's nothing you can do about it. It will take you to the thing that excites you. So we all know the feeling of falling in love. So all of a sudden, someone catches our eye and we look there and it's like, oh my God. And then something just walks you over there and you say, hi, I'm Gary, or whatever it is that occurs. What I'm sharing with you is that we will still eat, we will still shower, we will still sleep at night, we will still awaken in the morning, we will still be inspired and moved to be involved in things that are exciting. If you take small children, and just lots of them, you will notice something about them even before they've gone to school. There are certain ones that like to look at other people's bodies. They probably become the future doctors. There are those that start putting things together. They take the toys and they find different ways, and it's almost like they have a built-in intelligence. Those are probably the engineers. There are those that are very good. They're naturally coordinated. They love to put a ball in a basket or hit it with a bat. they're naturally athletic, or they're those that seem to naturally have the ability to sing and stay on key, and those that naturally have the ability to dance. We don't become these things. We come in with these things. These are part of our blueprint. So an apple tree doesn't just fall asleep during the day, and neither do human beings. We're all moved by the same animating force. Whatever is moving the planets is moving our hearts.
Then I guess the question is, how do you differentiate between our instinct and one of the many thoughts that comes up?
Because, first of all, let's talk about what instincts are. Instincts, we sometimes say, oh, that's my intuition. What actually is your intuition? Well, it's a feeling. You mean you felt something in your body? Well, I didn't actually feel it. Well, how did you come to know it? It just came by itself. That's right. It just came by itself. How does that happen? I mentioned to you earlier that the 100 trillion cells in the bodies have eyes. And those eyes are designed to detect and respond to light, which is invisible, which means our bodies are continually responding to the formless before it is rendered into form. So it's not responding to things we see, it's responding to the energy from where the things we see comes.
And does that also carry information as well?
That is information. It's information in formation. Like birds flying together, they're coherent. There's no leaders, there's no followers, and yet they all turn at the same time. That intelligence that's moving thousands of birds is also moving us. So, intuition is just a sense of knowing that comes because of the interaction of light, the intelligence of life, with the cells of our body. And even the eyes can detect a single photon of light. A photon is invisible, it has no form, it has no attributes. It's just a possibility, a potential. And yet, that is what this is designed to pick up. In other words, we are designed to see the invisible. Now, what is our awakening entrepreneur about? It's about beginning to notice how things are coming to us free of charge all the time, and just allowing that to occur. What is that 80-20 rule or something? You know, most people are working 80% and getting 20%. And then there's some people that have found that they put in very little and they get a big return. That's called economy. Economics is the study of economy, which is another word for efficiency. Ultimate economy is you invest nothing and you get back everything. In fact, that's how the universe works. There isn't some big strong man in the sky moving the planets around the sun and then going to sleep for a while, getting rest and starting the same. How does this happen? It's all occurring on its own, just like our physiology is functioning all on its own. So here, everything is functioning all on its own. And we think that if we don't do something, we're just going to fall asleep. But the rest of the world doesn't fall asleep. It just keeps going all on its own. We are self-activating and self-regulating. It's
You
occurring without us. Yes.
you in some of your shares previously, I've heard you sharing about like how do you incorporate your work with your kids? Like how do you live this lifestyle of just responding to what comes up?
It's very simple. Of course, my kids are now adults, so there's less of the things that I had to do when they were small. But you see, I know that what catches my eye is looking for me. Don't ask me how I know that, but I absolutely know that. So someone named Gary emails our office and says, I'd like to do an interview. Your email gets forwarded to me, and the moment I see it, immediately, even before I start to read it, immediately a yes comes up. There's nothing to think about. Yeah, we'll do it. So you get a response. You didn't have to wait long for that response, did you?
Yeah.
Not at all. It wasn't like, we'll take care of it. No, I have a lot of things on my priority list. And no, no, no. That came in, boom. The response is exactly when it comes in, not 10 hours later, not next week, because the timing of things is precise. It's precise. Now, some things you get an immediate yes. Other things, you get an immediate yes to a feeling inside that it's not appropriate. So you say yes to your no, and you realize that, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but each conversation has to be a match made in heaven. Because why are we doing this? In hopes that maybe someone will be touched as we are being touched right now in our conversation. We hope that this will be contagious because we're excited about these things. And so we feel moved to share them. We don't feel moved to share them because somebody's given us $1,000,000 for sharing them. We just feel we move to share them because that's our reason for being. So I just simply take care of whatever's in front of me. You know, when I get a bill, I pay it. I have no debts. None. No credit card. Credit cards are never paid out a little at a time. Every month, it's paid in full, it's finished. Nothing else to think about. When I see the bed has to be made, I make the bed. I just make the bed right then and there. It's finished. I see a dish in the sink, even if it's not my dish. If I see it, it's mine. I wash it, I rinse it, I put it in the drainer, or I dry it and I put it away. I'm doing that throughout the day. I am continually completing everything that catches my eye. And all of that is woven in with responding to emails, responding to messages. I never get an email that isn't responded to. Never. Never. How many people today that are out speaking or have written a book or have are fortunate enough to become a best-selling author? People write to them all the time to say, geez, thank you, I've been really moved by your work, and don't get any response. If someone takes the time to send me something, you know, wow, they wanted to thank me. Oh my God, it really touches me. And so it brings a response out. So whatever's going on in my life, that's what I take care of.
And what's your view on setting goals for businesses or for personal goals as well?
From my experience, goals come by themselves. So if I'm inspired to develop something or be involved in something, I'm inspired. So my inspiration is already moving me toward what you call a goal. I don't have to think of as a goal. I don't have to artificially create a goal, because if I artificially create a goal, then one of two things happens. I either make the goal or exceed it. We say that's good. Or I don't, and we say, how did I create this reality? What's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? So One moment we pat ourselves on the back, and the next moment we spank ourselves. Those are two sides of the same coin. If I'm inspired, I'm 100% involved. Just like I'm 100% involved in this beautiful conversation we're having. I don't know where this conversation is going, or where it will take me, or where it will take you, or I have no idea. But this is all there is right now. This is where I am, and this is where I must be.
Do you have any advice for people working in having their own business or leading a team? It's like, I find it easy if it's just myself, I can always like mentally adjust whatever the yardsticks are or whatever the direction I want to go. But when you're working together with a team, you kind of have to set, especially, I guess, my conditioning, you have to set smart goals, like smart, measurable, and realistic, yada, yada, yada. And so how do we make sure that because if you say, hey, I want to build a great business, a profitable business, everyone's definition is different of what that may be.
Right. First thing is, I always, when I'm working with others, I only want to work with people I love. That's the first thing. The second thing is, whatever a person is working on, I wanted it to be something they love. So I don't want a plumber to be doing electrical work. So whatever somebody's work is that what you love doing? Because I want them to do what they love doing, because if you love what you do, it's much easier. And so for me, it's about making sure that the right people are doing the things that they are naturally designed for. I also like to give people the schedules that they like. So rather than everybody coming in at the same time and leaving at the same time, some people are morning people, some people are night. So we try to find out, what would be the schedule you would love to have? How much do you think you're worth? Most everybody thinks they're worth less than they're worth. So when I was in practice, I used to ask people what schedule would be perfect for you. And if I really wanted them, I gave them the schedule that they loved. And then I would ask them, how much are they worth? And then I would pay them more, because I realized that we devalue ourselves. So how do you create a team that works collectively, that they are congruent and coherent with each other, just like the birds migrating together? You set the heartbeat of the organization through not only your words, but even more importantly, your actions. And you meet with people, you have team meetings, because sometimes people have things that come up between them. And so it becomes like a family where everybody's chipping in, and you allow everyone to have some piece of the process, so that they get to work for something that's going to be valuable for them. So the whole thing is how to create a situation where everybody wins. And you can only create that if that's where your heart is at. If you do it as an exercise, it won't work. But if that is where your heart is at, and if you see other people no different than yourself, they're just masterful at a different job, then your respect for each other is just like your respect for yourself. I never have the feeling that I'm better or smarter or than anyone else. It's just each of us brings a beautiful gift to the table.
Yeah, so I think overall is just the alignment with the company vision and the culture. It can, like research have shown, it outperforms just purely having like KPIs and measuring by that. Like you can still have it as a gauge, but it's not the be all and the end all. So thank you for that reminder. I want to just quickly jump onto some of your foundational work that you started with, like your vision and seeing. You mentioned that not only you had the miracle that happened, that you had to wear glasses and suddenly you didn't. Subsequently, you've gone on to further study like how did that happen and develop certain techniques to also help other people that have eye issues or short-sightedness or long-sightedness or whatever, and quite a few of them is able to see a lot better without glasses. And I think you talk about healing the emotion and or the spiritual side. Can you talk a bit more about that?
Sure. There are a lot of different ways of approaching this. At the most physical level, people think, well, if I exercise my eyes, they'll become more flexible, just like if I do yoga with my body, it's more flexible, so it works better. That's true. Yeah. So then you mentioned about mental things, emotional things. One of the things that I discovered very early on is that the way we see is inseparable from the way we feel. And in fact, my daughter, when she was very, very young, and I would do some work with her, and something would get touched and she would cry, she used to say to me back then, you know, Daddy, after I cry, I always see much better. And she was nearsighted. So that was pure validation of this. How do I work with emotional things? Well, I've discovered something really interesting. Our response to the different colors of the spectrum is related to our response to different aspects of our life. The colors we are comfortable with relate to the life experiences that we feel really connected to. The colors that we're uncomfortable with relate to the life experiences that are unresolved, whether we are aware of when they occurred or whether it's something that we don't even have an awareness about, that maybe occurred with our grandparents, but was passed down through our own genes and so on. So I have found a way of using color to help desensitize us from the emotional triggers that take ease and move it into dis-ease. And that's part of the work that I do when I mentor people. And it involves a kit that I've developed with glasses with different colored filters that helps people to notice, wow, you know, I love this color. Gee, this color really makes me feel terrible. So I've discovered that not only is our response to color related to our response to life, but the colors we're uncomfortable with relate to the chakras in the bodies of the same color where problems can develop. And that's something that I've just uncovered over the last 45 years that I've seen clinically over and over and over again. So I use color to help desensitize the emotional aspects that impact our vision. Ultimately, what's the real shift that needs to happen, or that really makes a paradigm shift, a quantum leap, if you will, is when we realize that it's not the eyes that are seeing and it's not the mind that's seeing. It's this other place that is seeing the mind's activity. Because that place has no point of view, its vision is clear. It sees clearly, even when the eyes are closed. You have dreams at night. Your dreams are not blurry, even if you're highly nearsighted. Your dreams are crystal clear, even though your contacts are off at night or whatever it is. Not only are your dreams crystal clear, but you can do things in your dreams, like be in one place and then be in another place instantaneously. All these things that we attribute to the quantum level of reality we experience in our dreams but not in our everyday life. It lets us know that that potential is there, even in our everyday life.
Mm. Yeah, to your point, like I've took my kids to do some training, almost like I call it Jedi training, where they blindfolded, but they could see, they can read books, they can see all the stuff around them.
Right,
Um, if they proceed to a high level, apparently, like they could see even be at the back of their heads and across rooms and walls, like kind of like Superman with their visions. And I know that there's a company in the US, Fiber Vision, some of my friends have gone to that again for blind people that could see like without using their eyes as well, like all
right,
blindfolded. And so happened one of the skills that within that fiber vision, they also talked about like bending metal, actually chopping like metal. Fascinating.
right.
Um, why are those people, or why is it capable for us to see without using our eyes, or even for you, like clinically, like your eyes is still like is still not perfect, but somehow like you could
Right,
see it.
right. Um, I don't know, but I rely more on my non-visual vision than on my visual vision. I rely more on what I sense than what I see. And what I sense is a level of seeing, except it's seeing what's not visible. It's a higher level of seeing, similar to what they're doing in the training that you took your children to. Maybe they use some techniques. By blindfolding, all of a sudden, we have to come into contact with other things that come into us all the time, but we don't pay attention to them. We don't pay any attention to them. I cannot not attend to these things. They are so prominent that they just occur.
Mm, interesting.
I mean,
So
I'll give you an example. I was on the beach with my daughter a couple days ago. I was sitting in a chair. I opened my eyes, and there was this elderly couple. And this beach we were at, you have to go over this rocky terrain to get to. It's the only way. But this was an elderly couple, and the man was had a cane, and he was barely able to walk. And what came to me is, I'm going to have to help him to come out of here. And they kept walking, and then my daughter said, let's leave. So we got our stuff, and by the time we got to the rocky terrain, the elderly man and his wife had just arrived there, and he was trying to get up, and she was much smaller and couldn't possibly lift him up. And I put my hands on his back, and I said, "Hi, I'm Jacob, and I just want to let you know I'm not going to let you go. I got you. So let's do this together." And his wife said, "Oh, we've come here for years, and he's always able to do this. This is the first time." I said, "It's okay. It's okay." And then I said to him, "Just lift up your left leg and just put it on that rock." And I touched the rock, and I helped him out. And he thanked me for helping him, and I thanked him for giving me the opportunity to be helpful. And we both won. What was interesting was that I opened my eye. I was in my lounge chair, and I opened my eyes, and that was the first thing that entered my awareness. And instantaneously, I saw myself helping him over. Now, where does that come from? I don't know. Is there any technique to develop that? Maybe something like what your kids are, what you took your kids to, maybe that can help. For me, all these things develop through a series of multitude of experiences that I've incorporated in my work, that I share with people. A lot of them are in Luminous Life. You know, the technique in there with the arrows?
yes.
Start doing that. That's really, really powerful. Really, really powerful. So there's many things that can help us to begin to tune in to this other aspect of life.
Got it. So for people that need to wear glasses because they have perfect vision or contacts, like, will you say like reading the book or listening to audiobook of Luminous Life, that's the best way to go? Or do you have online program or somewhere that they could, or tips that you can access?
Yeah, I don't have online programs. The book will certainly inspire someone. I don't know if it'll make the big leap. People can consult with me. That's one thing they can do. But there are optometrists throughout Australia. They're called behavioral optometrists that work specifically with people in terms of improving their visual function. Many of them do natural vision improvement work as well. So, most people, they get glasses and then they get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger glasses. Well, one of the things you can do is gradually begin to decrease your glasses. That can make a big change. Spending time without your glasses when you feel safe, like in your home. All of these things over time make a definite improvement. Is someone going to be able to eliminate the need for their glasses totally? I have no way of knowing. And anyone that promises you that is not telling you the truth. But there are many people in Australia that do natural vision improvement work that are both optometrists and non optometrists. And so I suggest that they visit some of these people. And then, of course, reading things such as my own books or listening to videos, anything that inspires you, that adds something to your excitement about it is a good thing.
I want to make a big deal of what I'm going to say. I'm going to get you to help share as well. Um, I've done a lot of work going to events and courses and books and whatnot. Like what you said, is rather than going to a dark cave or meditation event or whatever the event and coming back and still, oh, well, there was a high and nothing really integrated. What you said about people say, hey, you work hard at this habit for 21 days or X number of days, it'll become a habit and it'll become easier. But what you said, like really profound, you said like whatever it takes effort to do, it takes effort to keep and maintain as well. I found it so
Right.
true. And you develop something so simple. And it over the last week of me applying it is probably like, as far as I can remember, one of the consistently feeling a sense of inner peace and inner joy and having that awareness and consciousness, just simply just following your instructions in the book Luminous Life on how to do the 1 minute or even 30-second of conscious breathing. Can you
And you
share a
know
bit
what?
more on that?
Yeah, you said following your instructions. And the deepest part of that is we all need to follow our guidance, which is the instruction that's coming to us from the intelligence of life, which is our own intelligence. One of the things you just referred to is a very simple little 1 minute meditation, which is, most people, if you say, well, meditation is really good. Oh, yeah, but who's got 20 minutes? I'm so busy in my life, I can't take on another thing. So realizing that, I thought, what makes things really easy is we just do them at a time when there's nothing else to do and they don't interfere with our life. So, one of the best places to close your eyes and to just notice your body expanding and contracting is when you go to the toilet. Everyone has to go a few times a day. We've all been conditioned. Women are sit down and men stand up. No, that's silly. Everyone should sit down. So you sit on the toilet, even if you're just going to urinate, you close your eyes, you just feel that the struggle is over. And then you just notice how your body is like a balloon, expands. And and you don't do anything. You just notice this rhythm, this heartbeat of life, this frequency of wellness that's going on in everything in the universe, including the universe. The earth itself is continually doing that. Every tree, every plant, every animal, every planet, even the universe is expanding and contracting. So it's not us breathing, it's the heartbeat of life breathing us. And so you notice that, and just noticing that puts you in touch with that which is the center of everything. And so you do that as long as you're there. And then you go on to the next thing. And maybe you're going to eat, and before you eat, you just close your eyes and you spend 10 seconds. It doesn't make any difference. And maybe before you fall asleep, and when you're waking up, and even when you're driving your car, now your eyes are open. You're looking out. Look at nothing. Just allow your eyes to just look at nothing and notice this rhythm. When you're not forcing your eyes, they see for you at the speed of light, and they trigger all the responses that you need to make. So when I say look at nothing, I don't mean just space out. I mean that when you stop controlling your eyes, then you discover the miracle called vision. So little 1 minute meditations, things that I mentioned in the book, are things that came to me during important periods of my life that took me to another level. So I shared them. And for those that they help, great. I'm delighted.
I think one of the key points that you share is that when you are breathing, you are like connecting to your source. When you're thinking, you're feeding the ego, and you can't think and breathe at the same time. I used to do deep breath, conscious breath, when I'm feeling stressed or challenged or whatever. But from what you just shared, it's like, well, if I'm feeding consciousness, like or connecting to the higher consciousness, then like I just, rather than feeding the ego, well, it's the easy choice for me, pursuing, I guess, the way of life that you and other great people have talked about. So yeah, it just makes, it was a game changer.
You know, what I saw was simple. When we're working at something, when we're thinking about something, the breath either stops or it becomes very shallow. But when we're just in the midst of life, the breath just expands and contracts at the perfect rate. And so breathing is interesting. It's what happens when we first come into life. And it's the last thing that happens when we leave it. So anytime that the breath is stuck or constricted, we're on the decline. Anything that interferes with the natural flow of expansion and contraction, which in the East they speak of as yin and yang, but it's just the natural rhythm of things. Anything that interferes with that is creating a decline in one's ability to experience optimal health, optimal contentment, to be in the zone, to experience high level performance. And a lot of these things came to me very early in life because I used to be a competitive athlete. And these are things that I just noticed that now they're just part of my everyday life.
Awesome. So one final question that my intuition was guiding me to ask you. I don't know why I've never heard you talked about it, but any tips or advice you have on how to raise kids?
Yeah, just be who you are. They learn more from how you are than from what you say. And I have a daughter, 46, and a son that's almost 45. And I realized, wow, even though they've got their uniqueness, certain traits that are integral to my life are core of their life as well. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So you just being the sweet human being that you are will allow them to embrace those same qualities that are part of their genetics, but will also be part of their life. Give them the space to be who they are, not necessarily what one thinks the other should be. And
I
yeah,
think one of the key foundation of what you said is you've gone on this journey to remember who you are, and which is, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to achieve. Like,
right.
not saying that you have no drive, but you are enough. That is the essence. And
I've
if
never had as much drive as I have at this time of my life. I've never seen as clearly as I see at this time of my life. I've never been as in love as I am at this time of my life. My relationship with my wife is the most magnificent relationship I've ever experienced at 73 and a half years old. And we haven't hit the top yet. So, what I'm sharing with you is evolution keeps evolving. And as long as we are following our guidance, we are continually moving up the mountain. We're not going down the mountain, we're moving up the mountain.
well, I can't wait till when you do write a book on your whole life story. One of the big thing for me, like reading Michael Singer's book Surrender Experiment, because his whole life has been stretched out, and you can
Right.
see that unfold. It gave me like, even still hang on to the archetype of the entrepreneur. It's like, I can still succeed and pursue the spiritual or surrender path. And you have done miraculously with relationship, health, and kids, and everything else, your mission in life, but by just going with the flow of the universe, but without reading the whole story. Sometimes like we get nervous and, hey, like, is this gonna work? What if things get too chaotic and we
Well,
have
you
no
know
roof up?
something? We'll leave on this note. Everybody's curriculum is different. There are people who love to sit and meditate all day in a cave. There are others who spend their day meditating in the world, in the center of New York City or Sydney. Which is right? They're both right. So, Michael Singer, very wise man, The Untethered Soul. Beautiful work. So are you. So is everyone has a certain message, but nobody's message, it's not about following a message. It's about reminding you that your message is unique and that if you follow your guidance, you will get to where you need to be. And by the way, even if you don't follow your guidance, you'll get to where you need to be. So in either case, you're a winner.
Yes.
You
Hey.
can't get off track. You can't get off track. Your system is functioning without you at a level that you're not even aware of. It's going on without you. So this idea of, oh, I got off track. No, no, no. Life took you this way because there was something to see here. So just have a good time and keep smiling.
Love it. Thank you, Dr. Jacob Liberman. It's an honor and privilege to have you, and enjoy our conversation so much. If you liked what
Me
you've
too.
heard, post some comments, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and so we can reach more people. But yeah, thank you so much. You've been a blessing, and sending love to yourself and your family.
Thank you. The same for you. And if you ever come to Maui, let me know.
I will. Aloha.
Aloha. Be well.